Yo,
Got Kyle hopping on now. We about to get started soon. We about to get started. What's up, Alex?
My guy,
Yo, what's up, Brody?
not much, man. How you living?
I'm doing well. I can't complain.
And that's what it's all about, trying to stay out of these Rona streets.
Shit, definitely.
Yeah, man. But what you been up to?
Man, I'm just really just planning out for real, just trying to stay ahead of the for officially Morehouse man. But other than that, just
Yeah, how that
just
going though?
looking.
I seen y'all had pass fail option get passed, and now they're trying to do the petition. How is that all working?
You said what? It kind of broke
You're,
up.
yeah, I seen y'all had the universal pass fail that went through, and then you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
had the option to just get a passing grade altogether. So how is the process of that going? How is that working?
Well, they just sent out a petition. Um, like you just got the pass fail option, also like the A to the C thing too. But a lot of people are just trying to get a universal.
Yeah.
They just sent out a whole survey. SGA just sent out one. So right now, I think they have like a town hall today, or
Hmm.
either today or sometime next week, and they'll come up to a decision next week. But at this point, I think everybody's trying to get everything over with and just done with semester and
Yeah,
just
man.
come
And
into the fall on a fresh start.
exactly. And it's been tough
So
because it's like, how did nobody ever foresaw this coming? You know what I mean? You guys were already halfway through the semester. Y'all definitely don't need to be punished for it. So it's like one of those things where, man, I just can't believe, y'all had to go through this. And it's tough. I know it's tough, but I salute y'all for grinding through it and still making it happen regardless. So, that's something to definitely be commended about.
most definitely,
Yeah, man.
yeah, it's gonna be a story to tell, man. It's gonna be definitely a story to tell, like
Oh,
later in
yeah, for
life.
sure. Man, generations to come, because what's so interesting about it is nothing has happened since like 90 years of this magnitude, a pandemic of epic proportions where so many people were affected. I mean, the only thing I can think that was probably relatable to this would be the 9/11, the September 11th, 2001. But even that, I mean, we've already eclipsed that amount of people who died. And so it's
Right.
just one of those things where we're going to be telling our grandchildren about this literally. And how we respond in the wake of this is paramount, especially for our community, man.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where we just got to figure it out, and we got to put a plan together that's actionable. And I'm happy to be on here today because I know a lot of our age group and our age demographic, they don't watch the news. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And so whether people are going to be tapped in live today or go back and replay it and rewatch it, I think it's going to be important for us to be a source of information and just like a kind of good voice, a positive voice in the wake of so much uncertainty right now.
Most definitely. Well, like we got a couple of people on here, so I'm gonna just go ahead and get an introduction and everything like that. So, welcome everybody to the
Okay, cool.
second Feature Friday with WorkNard, and we have a special guest today, Kyle Cobb. He's a graduate of Morehouse College, currently works for SunTrust, and has this foundation called Kyle's Kids. Welcome, Kyle. Thanks
Cows
for
Kids
having you.
Foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, man. Thanks for
definitely.
inviting me to be on.
So if you could
I
just, just
appreciate
tell us a
that.
little
And
bit about,
one of the biggest things the foundation and the mission and all that.
Yeah, just tell us a little bit about what Kids Kyle's Kids Foundation's about and how y'all serve the community and what y'all doing now within these times that we're going through.
Oh yeah, for sure. So one of the biggest things about Kyle's Kids Foundation is the youth. It's the youth aspect, and it started from me having my own personal testimony and my own about going through immune system suppressed disease, kidney disease to be specific, and how that plays into today. Let you guys know, a little bit of backstory. It's one of those things where it's like I was diagnosed with end-stage renal failure when I was 12 years old. Literally was at school one day and just passed out. And so didn't know what was going on. I thought I was just getting out of final exams. It was around the end of the school year. And so it was like one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to take my test today. Mom ends up insisting that I go to the urgent care facility. So I go to the urgent care facility, get checked out. I go in initially, find out that my blood pressure is like astronomical. It's through the roof. So it's like 180 over 120. And so that's a red flag for a 12-year-old, obviously. And so that made them run some tests and do some lab work. And so they end up coming back with the notion that, they told me to take a seat because this was going to be, some hard hitting news. And they said, you have kidney failure. Your kidneys are functioning at about 12% of their overall function. So that kind of hit me and struck me, and all the different, are you gonna live? Will I grow up? How will this affect my daily life? I was very active. I played football. I ran track. I played soccer. So I did a lot of things, and I was always active. I was always an athlete. So there was no reason for my family to think it was something wrong with me. And so fast forward, I end up going through that, end up going to school, having to do dialysis. So I end up having to do dialysis treatments 3 times a week, waking up at 4 in the morning, going to dialysis, coming back. And so going to school after that. And so I end up making it through the 8th grade, a large part of the 8th grade doing that. And so one day I got the life-changing call that's like, you have a kidney on the way. And so being 13 years old, going through that was such a trying experience, but it allowed me to see so much. I got to see others who were, being on an ICU unit, like a lot of the nurses say today, who are dealing on the COVID front lines, they see that it's so much that goes into being in an ICU. And, it's people that were way worse off than me. And I experienced that, and they were all children. I was at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. And so I saw that so many people had been, diagnosed with life-threatening ailments, weren't going to see tomorrow. From a lot of the diseases were terminal. And so it made it tough for me to kind of deal with. And I'm like, well, these are the forgotten about kids. We always hear about the student athletes. We always hear about the kids excelling in school. But what about the kids that are going through something medically? And so that's where the mission was evolved for Kyle's Kids Foundation. And so the mission of it is to subsidize, which means financially support or use capital resources. So we subsidize the psychological as well as the physiological needs of the multicultural youth in need of organ transplants. And so that has so many wide-ranging dynamics to it as well, because when you think about the multicultural youth, it isn't just Black people, okay? It's Latino people. It's all people of color. And while we only make up about 12 to 15% of the population, a lot of times we're making up 70 to 75% of the organ donor waiting list. And so that reinvigorated my purpose. I got over to Morehouse College, had the kidney transplant, was able to start my nonprofit organization. I met President Barack Obama in the Oval Office. It was a great experience. So, I was able to go through high school, graduate in the top 10% of my class, do some really wonderful things and help a lot of kids along the way. Got over to Morehouse College, and then the transplanted kidney that I had. So I'm in the midst of my studies, just like you are, going through like my sophomore year. I'm finishing that up. And then the second chance at life that I was supposed to be getting end up failing me while I was in school. So I went through the whole dynamic of, well, do I want to finish school? Can I finish school? Is it going to be possible for me to juggle having medical treatments 3 times a week and also trying to finish a degree? And so that was tough. Went through that, and then, ended up graduating Morehouse College despite all the obstacles that came in my way. And, that was another motivation, because it's like 2 eras of my life, and being able to still grow into a young man, still get an education, still do the things in life that are normal, that are considered normal with such an abnormal condition. And so I understand that I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only one going through this, and luckily had a great support team behind me, a lot of people who wanted to help. But the biggest thing was it was so many people who didn't have that help and who didn't have those resources. And that's what continued to perpetuate my mission and make me want to say, okay, let's go, let's make it work. And so that's what I did. And so I just had my second kidney transplant on February 28th. 2020 this year. And so, after going through that, this time as an adult and seeing how it works now, I was like, oh my God, this is a process. This is a story. I believe it needs to be told and shared. And my biggest thing is to inspire, find a way to inspire, find a way to help the community. And so that's what we're all about.
Well, wow, that's deep, and that definitely inspired
Yeah,
me to just keep going, and whatever you go through, just whatever obstacles in life, it's not the end, it's not your, finish line. You just gotta keep pushing through. So that's definitely
exactly.
deep. Kudos to you, and
I appreciate
definitely
that.
whatever WorkNard can do to help, Kyle's Kid Foundation, we definitely in support with that. That
Yeah, man.
ties into our mission too, just
Health
helping
and
people.
wellness.
Yeah, so. Wow. So what steps like do you feel like you're taking now, like for your, I know all the transplants and the
Hmm.
surgeries and everything like that takes a toll on your body. So like, what are
Oh,
you doing
man.
now to, keep up with your health and everything like that?
Well, not only does it take a toll on your physicality, it takes a toll on your mental. It takes
Yeah.
a toll on your spirituality. It challenges all those things, and what all the things that you may have questioned on a regular day, it intensifies it. And so
Right.
now
Right.
you're wondering, well, can I do this? Will I be able to make this happen? And so, it's just about staying grounded. And, we always use the slogan that we're going to keep going no matter what happens, no matter what comes in our way. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep trudging along and try to make it, be an inspiration to someone else. Who knows who's watching? You never know who's watching. You never know who's taking your story as motivation and fuel to keep it going. And so, it's not easy, but my biggest thing is trying to drink a whole lot of water, trying to stay hydrated. So you see right
Yeah.
here, I have 2.5 liters of eternal water, which is literally
Okay.
my favorite water brand. So staying super hydrated, trying to eat the right foods. Trying to eat foods, leafy green vegetables, good proteins, trying to stay away from red meat and pork and stuff like that. And so I think if you keep your diet on a consistent basis, get you some exercise in. I've already started back exercising. I already started back doing my jump ropes, doing my push-ups, doing my lunges and squats, and just taking walks around the track. And that's something that's helped as well. Because once you start getting moving, it speeds up the healing process. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think, oh, you just got out of surgery, you need to kind of lay low, sit on the couch. But I realized I tried that. To be honest with you, Nar, I tried that 2 days. I
Mm.
got in there and I was just like, okay, I'm going to take it easy. And I realized that's just not me. It's not in my nature to just sit by on the sidelines. I want to get up. I want to get involved and make things happen. So when I start getting up, I start feeling my body get stronger. And, now I'm about 6 weeks out. And so I feel great. And so now it's time to take this mission one step further and help others and do what we can and kind of get better, not only in self, not only as the local community, but, nationally and internationally as well.
Definitely. I think that's a big thing within like, to tie it into the conversation, like the Black community, like
Man,
not being able to, walk down the street and see some people in your neighborhood just to check on, see how you're doing, or even being able to see your family right now, and then all these small businesses close and everything
man,
like that, and that impact
it's
that it
tough.
had on communities. So it's definitely rough right now. So I feel like a big investment is just helping these small Black businesses and need-based
Yeah,
businesses too.
shot black,
You
shot
know,
black, right? Yeah.
yeah,
And that's what it's all about because, unfortunately, we're going to be the ones that are affected the worst. And we receive the brunt of what goes on whenever there's a crisis, whether it be economic, whether it be a health crisis as we're in now. The African American and minority communities are always the ones hit hardest. And so that's why I'm repping the HBCU a little harder today because I know we might even be affected. Morehouse College and the AUC and the funding that we're not going to receive. The fact that we're going to have to reimburse some students for the fact that they paid for an entire semester and it was essentially cut in half. And so it's important for us to realize these things and not just look from the sidelines and say, man, that's bad, but actually do something about it. And so, I think being a graduate of HBCU, you being a current attendant, it's just important for us to kind of reach back to people who have, gone through the same thing we're going to go through and also pay it forward. So that's
definitely.
important. And supporting Black business is one of the things that, you know, we can't do enough of, I think. I say, hey, if you eat out twice a week at a black business, if you shop online at a black business once a week, once a month, do it twice a month, do it 3 times a month, do it 4 times a month, kind of extend that handle further, because Lord knows we need it.
Definitely. Definitely. So like, so what are some habits that you're starting to learn over time as far as like helping with your mental, or you're doing like meditation, journaling, of course praying to God, but
For
I
sure.
feel like a good time right now, like, I know a lot of people want to get out and just, interact with other people, but you're also like, this is a good time to just be able to be comfortable just being in still,
Man, one
just
of the
being able to
biggest
just
things,
stay.
yes, you're absolutely correct, Bernard. And one of the biggest things you can do right now is stay home. And I know
Right.
that's hard for our generation because we're always out, we're always moving around, and social media has us on the go 24/7. But right now, you're getting a once in a lifetime opportunity. You're getting the opportunity to learn a new skill, slow your life down. If you're in college, you never get enough time. You never can slow down. But right now it's a break, and I know you still have work to do, but just take the time to self introspect. Go ahead and do something that's going to advance you mentally. Do something that's going to advance you financially. Do something that's going to advance you spiritually. And I think you'll reap the benefit when this is all over. Trust me. This is going to be over one day. But if we don't practice the social distancing measures, if we don't take self quarantining seriously, then it's going to be tough, and it's going to last, and it's going to be drawn out. And like I said at the top of the conversation, I know a lot of millennials and Generation Z guys don't watch the news as much. And so I just want to be able to share some statistics with you all, to share about the minority community and how we're being affected by this disease. So here's just a rundown by cities, by some of the top hotspots in the United States and where we stand in numbers wise. So in Illinois, the state of Illinois, we're 30%, we're about 32% of the population, and we have 30% Black COVID cases right now. We have 8% Latino cases out there right now. In Louisiana, a startling 70% of the COVID cases are Black people. 70% of the cases that are being diagnosed are Black. So just 7 out of 10 people that get COVID right now in Louisiana are Black. In Michigan, we have 40% Black people infected with COVID-19. And so 4 out of every 10 Black people are infected right now. And then in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, another 71% Black people are affected right now by COVID. And so when you think about those numbers, it calls into so many dynamics. It calls into the healthcare access dynamic. It calls into the economic and workforce dynamic, where a lot of African American workers work in these essential jobs, that are hard to get away from, and are deemed essential workers by the government. So you have to show up if you want to get paid. And so that's what makes it so tough, is because our community is being hit the hardest, but it's being hit twice as hard. A
Right.
lot of times when the country coughs, we get pneumonia. And that makes it tough for us to really elevate and get to the place we want to get to. And I think, to stop us from working these essential worker jobs, education is paramount. It's important for us to go ahead and try to secure education and try to, do things the right way, so we won't have to be relegated to certain jobs that, I know we want to work hard. I know we want to support our family, and that's important, but it's other ways to do it besides, working at McDonald's. And not to talk down on that, but that can't be an option for us going forward, because we see the
Definitely.
detriment and we see the effect of doing these jobs and how it affects the broader community.
Exactly. If really, I feel like it starts with just like, what do you want? You know,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
that's the first question. Like, what do you want? Like, how, you see a problem, how do you find a solution that's really going to be,
Yeah.
tangible for everybody?
Well,
And
you
is
have to
it for,
start with why. You have to start with
yeah,
your why. That's the most important thing you can do.
purpose. Yeah,
Purpose. Find your purpose in everything you do. And, if your purpose isn't to elevate your community, then I think you need to do a little bit more thinking, because, especially if you're a minority, elevating your community should be at the top of your list. Elevating your family and your community should be at the top of your list, because we've started the race of life behind. And former president of Morehouse College, Benjamin E. Mays, once said, if you start behind in the race of life, you must run faster or you'll continue to be left behind. And so that's one of the things we must understand. If we don't run faster, if we don't work harder, if we don't make a more concerted effort towards doing certain things, then we're going to continue to be the ones that are receiving the brunt of the issue and not being able to, internalize it. We know that racism is internal. We know that there's discrimination in the healthcare system. We know there's discrimination in the job market. Okay, those are things that are intangibles that we may not be able to change. But what is something we can do to change? Well, let's think about it. We can control the foods we eat. We can control underlying health conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity. These are all things that can, be prevented and cause us to not have to go see a doctor, not have to wait in long lines in the emergency room. If you're eating the right foods, immune system, vitamin C rich foods that are able to build up that immune system, help you fight off a disease, COVID might get in your body, but it won't be able to do much, And so
Right.
if we take a concerted effort and make a concerted effort to do these things, I think it'll pay dividends for the future.
No, that's real. That's definitely real. Because the way you treat yourself now is the way you're going to treat yourself in the future. So you got to definitely take precautions.
Right.
Take care of your body.
Yeah, and
Put
it'll
what you
take care
put
of
in.
you. And it'll take care of
Exactly.
you, right?
They
Yeah.
say
So
health is wealth.
health is wealth. And so,
Yeah.
if you get all this money, if you're lucky enough to amass so much wealth, but then you aren't around to spend it, did you really get the benefits of all your hard work? And so
Mhm.
I think, in our generation, we push getting this bag, getting this bag. And, we need to secure the health bag too. There's another bag to get into, several bags you can get into. Don't just be siloed to the physical money bag. Let's get the health bag on the right track. Let's get all
So
these things on the right track. So, that's important.
got to have a solid foundation all around. Just not in one
Exactly.
aspect. Yeah.
It's not.
So for the people in here, y'all got any questions? Like y'all have any comments or anything like that y'all want to add to? Anything I want to like speak about or want us to speak about, or just it's open dialogue for real. We just wanted to do this just to bring more light to, the people around us, our following, our traffic and everything like that, just to spread the word about, COVID-19 and the impact and how health and wellness can be a factor and a big play into, our
Preventing and
future.
also taking steps to eventually eliminate this. I think that's important as well. If we can't just sit on the sidelines anymore. It's not time for that. Guys who have been equipped with the sharp minds and have come from the illustrious Morehouse College, it's time for us to take a leadership role, and it's time for us to really step up and educate our communities. And I encourage people to watch the news, watch some sort of news outlet. You don't have to keep it on all day because psychologists have said that that's not good for the mental, but try to be informed, try to stay
Hmm.
informed. And when they say these words on the news, when they say things like convalescent serum, or when they say things like nemesis prophylactic, don't just let them talk at you and talk around you. Go ahead and research those words. It's actually made me a little bit more intelligent just understanding what all these medical terms mean. I didn't know what social distancing actually meant. I didn't know it meant you had to stay 6 feet away. I didn't understand that, droplets are the number one cause of people getting infected with COVID, and in reality, through my research, I found that this isn't a very strong disease. The disease can't even move within 7 feet of the person that's the carrier. So
Right.
they're absolutely correct when they say social distancing works. It's because if you stay back, if you keep your distance, if you self quarantine, you'll be fine. And I think we see that now, especially in hotspots such as New York and even Atlanta, that the numbers have gone down. The flattening of the curve, I know that's been a coined term lately, but the flattening of the curve has taken place. And if we continue to social distance, we'll be out here. We'll be able to have hot girl summer, and we'll be able to turn up and do all that right now. But for right now, it's time to focus. Let's hunker down and let's make it happen.
Definitely, so the health people can find a vaccine because that's the biggest thing. Like social distancing is definitely
Right.
going to play a factor. Lower the curve, but
For
you
sure.
still need a vaccine to
To
at
really
least,
fight it and
yeah,
eliminate it. Yeah. And so the vaccine is about 11 to 12 months away. I've heard there's a lot of competitors and there's a lot of capitalistic nature that goes into fighting this disease.
right,
Everyone's vying to get that number one spot. And, you even see it in the tone of our president when he talks about the hydrochloroquine drug and, he's touting the uses of that. But if you do a little research, you find out, well, he has some monetary connections to the drug, and when you see things like that, I can understand why you want to distrust the media. But that's also another reason to do your own independent research. Don't just be self-reliant on CNN or MSNBC. Go ahead and get into those books. Let's find it out and let's figure out why this is happening and what we can do to stop it, and specifically in the minority communities. I mean, I think that is just my number one focus, and it's so near and dear to my heart because we need to dispel the miseducation and the misnomers in our community. Let's think about the fact that 3 weeks ago, people were saying Black people couldn't get this disease. I mean, they couldn't be virally infected. I mean, that I
right.
think
All the
that was
memes and everything.
Right. And I think that was one of the worst things that could have happened in the cycle of events that's taken place so far. It's just because people really believe that, and then if someone has 1 million followers, that doesn't necessarily warrant them to be an expert in the medical field or whatever field. If you have 1 million followers because you're an entertainer, well, stay being an entertainer, but don't try to, if you have people following, you have parishioners, you have to be very careful about the information you spread on a daily basis. And I think that hurt us. That hurt us tremendously. And just the kind of reluctance to social distance, just the kind of reluctance to do a lot of things really came back and kind of bit us. But it's not too late. It's still opportunity for us to get back in the race. It's still opportunity for us to make it happen. And so, as of today, as of 4/9/20, actually that was yesterday, we realized that about 35% of the total deaths. Now, all the numbers haven't come in yet, but 35% of the total deaths from COVID have been Black people, and 16% of them have been from Latinos. And so that's a startling realization. That's tough, but we can overcome this. We can overcome it through social distancing and self-quarantine and just kind of making it happen through that.
Definitely. And I heard that, I heard the next wave in the next month is going to be up north, like the
Yeah,
Baltimore,
it's going to
Metro
be another
Baltimore
wave.
area,
It may be another
DC.
wave. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's so tough about it, is because we can't really gauge where it is and where it's going. And so to prevent the second wave, I think we get over the first wave and we don't necessarily jump back into the fire and get back in there when it comes to, having parties. Some people are saying they're never going to handshake again. They're never going to physically shake hands. So this is changing the culture, the dynamic of our country for years to come. And we're going to see the implications of COVID-19. Like I said, we'll be talking about this with our grandchildren. And so I want us to be warriors through this. I want us to be survivors through this and ultimately make it through. Because again, when the world coughs, we tend to get pneumonia. And that's just not something that I want to be a fact of the matter for the rest of my life. I think there's something we can do to change it. And I think there's work that can be done. And I think we have enough equipped minds and sharp minds to pull it off.
Oh, most definitely. Just stay prayed up, motivated,
Amen.
take it day by day.
Exactly.
Yeah, this was great, man. I enjoyed this.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoyed this as well. Yeah,
Sure.
no doubt, man. And look, we can partner in the future when all this is over. Let's try to put something together, health and wellness oriented, and bring our community back together.
Oh, definitely. We'll talk for sure.
Okay, man. You have a good one now. Thanks everybody for joining in.
Everybody, good Friday. Bless up.
Yeah, happy Good Friday.
All right.